What's up everybody, my name is Kason and welcome back to another War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video. Today is going to be my ultimate guide to Meriluke, the MR Lightning Monk unit. And I know what you're thinking, why the heck would you make a guide on Meriluke? Well, because she's a really niche unit, and I just think it's super fun to beat units like Astrius and Celeste with potentially the worst unit in the game, so we're going to definitely dive into that today. Before we get into the guide, I wanted to go over a couple of things about my channel, so if you don't want to listen to this and want to skip straight ahead to the guide, see the timestamp down below, and you can skip ahead of anything I'm just about to say. So, first thing I wanted to say is a huge thank you to everybody watching, everybody who has subscribed, everybody who's hit those like buttons and left me comments on YouTube, on Reddit, and on Discord. The overwhelming amount of positive just reaction that I've gotten from you guys is astounding, and I am incredibly thankful from the bottom of my heart for all of you guys. This is a channel that I started not to try and become some sort of full-time YouTuber and make a living on it or anything like that. This is a channel I started because I really enjoy the game of War of the Visions. I really enjoy the theory craft side of it, doing deep dives into characters, trying to see if they can work, you know, trying to find the mechanics of the game and how those things work, and I wanted to share my knowledge with you guys. So ultimately, thank you so much for the positive feedback. I hope the channel keeps growing just so that people can see this stuff and learn from it, and yeah, I'm excited about it. So thank you very much. Now, the direction of my channel as I see it is essentially more character guides, more in-depth character guides on a lot of different units, more like mechanical guides in terms of how things work in battle, you know, debuffs versus penetration versus resistances and all those kinds of things, how damage happens to work out, just a lot of in-game mechanics and also new systems that come out in the game. You know, I covered Truststones and I covered the +6 gear and stuff like that. Anything like that that comes out in the game, I will try and make in-depth guides just so that everybody understands them and all that stuff. Now, the most recent video that I made was a lightning unit only tier list, and I received some positive feedback and some feedback basically saying that it just doesn't offer a lot compared to my other videos. I completely understand that, and I'm very thankful for all the feedback. Those types of videos, whether it be tier lists or just like future looks into units or like just different other things that are not full guides, I will do pretty sparingly. I'm not going to promise that I will never do them, but just know that about 90% of my content is going to continue to be ultimate guides, in-depth guides. I think that's what I'm good at. It's kind of what I sought out to do. But on occasion, if I see something that I can provide something, I'm going to do it. And that's why I did the lightning unit tier list, just because I'm a huge lightning player. That is my main element. Which brings me to my very last and next topic. Am I going to do character guides or tier lists or anything like that on other elements? And the answer to that question is actually yes. Even though all of my character guides to this point have been lightning, and I am going to do more lightning very soon coming up in the future, that doesn't mean I'm going to completely ignore the other elements. Lightning is my main element. I have almost all of the vision cards and almost all of the units maxed out, so I think it's just something that I can talk about really, really well and that I have a lot of knowledge for. And my ultimate basis of whether or not I want to make a character guide is it going to be helpful, and is it going to be an ultimate character guide? I'm never going to make a character guide on somebody like Jum if I don't have her. If I don't even have the unit, I can't do an arena showcase, and I can't experiment with her and seeing how her AI works and different things like that. You know, if I have Golbez, but if I only have maybe one good dark VC, I'm not going to make a Golbez guide because I can't make him to the best of my ability. I actually do have a lot of dark VCs, and I might make a Golbez guide in the future, hint hint, but that's kind of how my brain works, right? So I will make other elemental character guides in the future. Lightning is going to be my top one for sure, but I will make others. I have a few other accounts that I actually made months ago, and I've basically just made them one single element only each. So down the road, in a couple months, maybe 2-3 months from now, expect some character guides for some of the newer units coming out. I have an Earth account, so I will be doing Queen Mashri when she comes out. I do have a Light account, so like when Hope comes out during the FF13 collaboration, I will do that. And the last one is Fire also, so if I get another Fire unit down the road in a couple months, I will do that. That being said, those accounts are not fully upgraded in terms of vision cards and stuff like that, so I don't want to do those guides until I feel like I have a full grasp on them. So just to reiterate, My channel is mostly going to be on ultimate guides. I will occasionally do other things. Thank you everyone for liking, subscribing, commenting. You guys are absolutely awesome and I love you guys. Without further ado, let's get into this guide. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the guide summary, and it's going to be the character breakdown showing stats, resists, master ability, things like that. The bread and butter, so what makes the character work really well. The vision card layout, what vision cards I recommend for both Meriluke and her team members, my favorite TMRs for her, including Truststones and other equipment options. Target selection, so who we should try and fight if we are doing arena or guild battle or something like that. Damage calculations, just to see how much damage she should theoretically do, and then we will showcase her at the end in the arena. Without further ado, let's dive into this a little deeper. So, the first thing is the character breakdown. Now, the first thing that should jump off the page is this stat pool, and this graph looks pretty underwhelming. Absolutely. Her attack is slightly above average. Actually, a little more than slightly. It's above average. Her dex is slightly above average. So those are kind of the two good stats that she has. Her HP is significantly below average, as is her luck, and her agility is just ever so slightly below average. So overall, her stat pool is just really not great. And the same with her resists. She has -15 to magic, -5 to slash, -5 to pierce, and only 5 for strike. So immediately you're going to look at this just from a stat perspective and say Meriluke is an absolute garbage unit. And I actually thought this for a really long time. I legitimately thought Meriluke was the worst character in the game for a while. I don't think that's true. She's not fantastic, but she's definitely not the worst character in the game, especially right now. And you're going to pull some similarities from this guide as it were in my Queen Ultimate Guide, if you've watched that before. It's that she can actually do an insane amount of damage to Astrius and Celeste and Velis. And to a point, she might even do more damage than Queen, because of a lot of her attacks are single target, whereas Queen's main attack is an AoE attack, and water tends to have more AoE resist than it does unit resist. So she pretty much one-shots Astrius every single time. Even a really well-built Astrius, it's pretty rare that she doesn't kill him in one hit. Spoiler alert. So, even though these stats and resists are pretty crap, she does have a couple of things that go really well for her, and we're going to get into that. The master ability is actually really nice. At first, I looked at this and thought this was a really weird niche master ability, but honestly, critical damage 40 is a gigantic modifier. 40 critical damage is crazy. If this were to be like a lightning attack or something, we would look at this and think, holy cow, this is one of the best master abilities in the game. But it's critical damage. So basically it's an insane modifier. It just only applies when she crits. So as long as we can build up her crit, then this modifier is really, really useful. The other part of her master ability, as you're going to see, she doesn't have her MA2 yet, so she doesn't have the elemental buffs. Unfortunately, she eventually will get that. She gets 10% agility, and in practical terms, this is based off your base stats, so she basically just gets 6 agility flat added on. So 40 crit damage, 6 agility is not a bad master ability at all. Her jobs are nothing great, honestly. Monk is pretty outdated. It's just kind of a lesser version of Pugilist. However, with her EX job, she has a couple of things that really make Monk shine. Knight is pretty useless. You're never going to use this. And Green Mage offers very little except for one passive, which we will go on the next slide. We'll go over on the next slide. She has 3 move and 2 jump, so slightly above average mobility, and she is cost 60. I really do wish she was cost 50, because this would help more in limited cost formations, which I think is the time you'd probably actually want to use her. Not like me being a crazy person taking her in top 2000 arena, but you know, it is what it is. If she was cost 50, it would help because you could do a cost 100 and a 90 with her. Unfortunately, you'd have to do 2 cost 90s, but Cloud is apparently cost 90. I think that was probably an oversight, but who knows. So you could do Charlotte, Cloud, Meriluke in a team, and that would be pretty good, I would say. So for strengths, she has great buffing abilities, which will go on the next slide. Strike damage, which is a very underutilized resist. So basically people just don't build strike resist very much. And she has the passive Emerald Echo, which normally I think is not a great passive, but on her, it's fantastic. Which brings me up to the bread and butter here. Her master ability we already went over is really good. This is her first buff, and she won't use this on her first turn, but it's really, really good. It's called Measured Power, and this is essentially an enhancement on the ability Store. The ability Store is normally a monk ability that upgrades your attack by 150% for 1 turn. And if you don't know how these percentages work, again, these are based off your base stats. To put this in perspective on how much a 150% attack increase is, it is a ludicrous amount for Meriluke. Her base stats of attack multiplied by 150% is 538. I will repeat that, 538 attack. That is essentially 2 + 6 assault golden blades. I'm serious. That's how much attack it is. So this steroid is insane. She also gains 40 defense and 40 spirit. Now, I know what you're saying. The thing about this is that it lasts only 1 turn. So she's going to use this buff, and she basically just gets 1 turn of utilization on this. So it's like, yeah, okay, great buff. She's just going to hit 1 person. It's going to go away. Here's the difference. This right down here, Emerald Echo, increases buff duration on buffs she casts on herself by 1 turn. Now, I tested this for about a half hour because I wanted to make sure that this works exactly how I think it does. And from my experiments, it doesn't work on what I think is a buff on every single type of buff. What it seems to work on, at least from my experiments, are things that are main stats being buffed. Attack is a main stat, defense is a main stat, spirit, move, jump are main stats. Things like dex, luck, critical, and evasion, those all seems to be affected by this buff duration. So what this means is that measured power effectively, if you're using Emerald Echo, is no longer a 1-turn buff, it's a 2-turn buff. So 2 turns of 538 bonus attack with 40 defense and spirit increase for 2 turns, that's an insane amount of stat value, like actually ludicrous. So this ability is fantastic. Now, there is a caveat to this. Before we go over the caveat of this ability, I want to show you what her next buff is, and this is Focused Fist. This is her job level 25 skill. It increases strike attack 40 for her and allies, so if you wanted to run her with like a Queen or Charlotte or something, this could be kind of fun just to boost up strike attack. And it also increases her defense pen by 50, so even if you were running a pretty low amount of natural defense pen, like 10%, or maybe 20%, well, now you're at 60 or 70 defense pen. And she will pretty much always use this on the first turn of battle. So she's pretty much always going to use this, so she's got really good strike or defense pen, similar to Queen. People don't pack a lot of strike resist, so she's doing mostly true damage in a lot of situations. Now, coming back to this ability, the measured power, here's the caveat, and there's something really important to know about Meriluke's AI, the way it works. She almost always will use this Focus Fist buff first. After that, the way her AI works is she looks and says, if I use this measured power, will I be able to hit somebody on my next turn? If I can't hit somebody on the next turn, then I won't use measured power. It's actually really aggravating because if you have Emerald Echo equipped, the buff lasts for 2 turns, but her AI doesn't know that it lasts for 2 turns. It still thinks it's a 1-turn buff. So she won't use this unless she knows for sure that she'll be able to hit them on the next turn. What this causes on occasion, not every time, but sometimes on certain maps, is that she will walk up and she won't use a buff, or she'll use her TMR buff instead. Then the opponent moves closer on their turn, does whatever they're going to do, and now Meriluke gets her turn. Now she's in range to hit them, because originally when she thought, I'm not in range to hit them on my next turn, now she is. So now she doesn't get to use measured power. So it is a weird buff. It's an incredible buff, like insanely good buff, but getting her to use it is tough. So you have to tweak her AI a bit, get her moving around the map in very, very specific situations, but if you can get it to work, her damage potential is nutty. Vision card layout. Now, I've listed 4 different main VCs that you can run on her for different things. It just depends on what you want. If you want a little more bulk, this will give you 10 AoE resist and 5 crit damage, which is cool. This gives her 30% attack. I actually don't think this is as valuable just because measured power gives her an insane attack steroid. You don't need 30% if you're already getting 150. This is really nice just because it gives her 10 AoE resist as well. If you're looking to boost agility for the team, she can hold this card. And this is the MR card from the Persona 5 collaboration. I don't think this is a very good card in most times, but if you are very specifically running like Meriluke and Queen, just as like a fun team to go against like an Astrius comp, she could hold this. It gives her 23 lightning attack, and it does boost strike attack for the whole party and a smaller amount of AoE resist too. So not a bad card if you're doing a strike team. As a sub card, my favorite in most situations is actually the MR Coral VC, because I think it helps her with her agility. Her agility is normally pretty low to start, so getting this boost to agility is really nice. And for team VCs, it all kind of depends on what you want. But Ibaro's card is obviously great for the AoE resist. It also gives dexterity, I believe. Ifrit is good just to pump up the attack stat. Aigayon is good because it gives HP and accuracy. The accuracy is not a big deal because you're never going to take her against evasion targets. And Europa is nice just for the simple fact that it gives some critical damage. So in order of which I'd like, it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4. But all 4 of those can be used as team VCs. The next thing I want to go over is favorite TMRs. Now, this is kind of a different one. This is a TMR that I almost never use on anybody, and it's Titus's shoes. But this is actually really good for her because it gives her 5 flat agility, which is really nice. And then its ability gives 30% crit rate and 30% crit damage. Now, going back to her master ability, she has 40 crit damage as her master ability. So if we can just amp up that crit rate as much as we possibly can, and now we have an extra 30% crit damage modifier, her crit damage modifiers can get up as high as like 80, 90, 100 if you do it right. It's crazy. So this even affects like her normal attacks, which is cool about the crit damage modifier. You can't find strike modifier in a lot of situations, but you can find crit damage. So if she does run out of AP and just walks up and punches somebody with her basic attack, her damage can actually get insanely high just from her basic attack too. And I think this is probably my favorite TMR to run on her, which is cool because I run it on almost no one else. Zombie Mask will always be here because re-raise is just always a really good function. I also think one that's maybe a little slept on is this King Mont cloak. It just has really good stats for bulk. It gives both defense and spirit and a really healthy amount of HP. And then it's a 25 party AoE resist buff. So if you're looking for her, she uses her focus fist ability, and then she needs something to do if she's not going to use her measured power buff. Giving party AoE resist is just a really useful function. So I think this is nice to throw on her. And then finally, the Lucia TMR gives 7 agility, which is really nice. And then she will not benefit from the range up effect, but from her actual ability, but she will benefit from the agility buff. So if you're just looking to make her really speedy and be able to get into the fight quickly, I think Lucia's TMR is a really good option too. Now, in order to equip those TMRs, we want to get some Truststones on her. Truststones are one of those things that are unique to situations, but I've just basically given an example build here that you could run for passives. Like if I was hunting a Celeste and Astraeus team, obviously these don't have to be perfectly optimized like they show on here, but this is a set you could run. 20% attack is always good, defense pen is really good, crit rate and crit damage is nice on her, again she's a critical focused unit, lightning attack is nice because you're not going to find lightning attack anywhere else in her gear, and dex is good because it also enhances that critical rate that we want. For the defensive side, 10 HP is always good, luck is always a decent stat, and again, assuming we're going against Astraeus, Celeste, Velis, Slash, Water, Magic, and Ice Resist are good against that comp. Fill this in based on who you're going against. You could also do like debuff resistance too if you wanted, depending on who you're going against. For the actual sets, for defensive, I think HP is probably just the best, assuming you're going against like the water comps and stuff like that, which I think you probably don't want to take her against many comps other than that. The luck set is always just a decent set, nothing wrong with it. And defense and spirit is probably like my third highest out of those. So these are probably pretty much in order. And I would say these are in order, other than I might actually put critical first. And again, critical is a set that I'm pretty much never running on anybody. But critical not only gives you a critical rate boost, it also gives you critical damage boost. So if you were to run a critical set on Meriluke, again with all those bonuses we talked about with the Titus TMR, her crit damage modifier can be like 100, which is just crazy. And she's basically guaranteed to crit because she has a pretty good dex stat. Lightning VCs give dex and crit rate, and then she'll have the crit TMR. So she's basically just guaranteed to crit and get a ton of bonus damage. So I think crit might be my favorite, and then definitely speed because she has a low agility, boost that up. And lastly, assault, but I really don't know that she needs the damage from assault. She has a really high attack stat after she uses the buff, and then she will have a good amount of defense pen from her focus fist ability. So next thing is the other equipment options. Cat's Claw, you're like, what? Cat's Claw? That weapon sucks. It does most times, but now especially with the +6, it is actually not bad at all, and it gives 6 agility, which is really nice. So if you didn't want to run an agility TMR, you wanted to get some speed from your weapon, you could absolutely do this. And I think +6 Cat Claw is actually probably just her best in slot weapon. The other alternative is Kaiser Knuckles +5 assault version. That's not bad. If you really didn't have like a good fist weapon, you could run Lomega's TMR. I love this on Queen. I don't love it as much as on Meriluke. And the simple fact for that is because the way she buffs. She's going to use Focus Fist on turn 1. If she's not in range to do measured power, she's just not going to do anything. So I like to run TMRs with an actual ability on her. But again, this isn't terrible. If you just wanted the highest attack stat, you could run this. For armor and accessories, the Shinra Bangle is really good. It gives defense pen and critical damage, which are both things she really loves. Same with Titus's necklace. Magic resistant crit damage is a really good option. Survival vest is just a nice piece of armor, gives some unit resistance and bulk. And Hermes sandals, you don't need a +5 or anything. Just a flat Hermes sandals can boost up your agility. So if you're looking for another way to get her speed up, Hermes sandals is not a bad option. Target selection, this is something I've pretty much talked about throughout the video. Obviously you want to avoid Earth. I would avoid any sort of evade. I've put Elena here, but any sort of evade, she is not accurate enough. Her luck stat is just abysmally low. So if you go against evade, she's never going to hit anything, even if you run accuracy runes. Esther is a problem for her because Esther's just so ridiculously bulky. You won't do terrible damage to her, but Esther's just going to outclass her. Target selection on this side, though, pretty much any water unit is a decent option for her. Celeste is really good, Asterisk is really good, and just in general, she's going to hit water really hard. The other units are basically just units that are weak to strike. King Mont is known for being pretty susceptible to strike damage. Unless he builds for it, there is a fire VC that can boost up strike damage, so it's possible he has that, but for the most part, you can do pretty good damage to him. Also, a little known fact, again, if Kingmont happens to berserk her and she lives, she's going to be auto-attacking, but Meriluke's auto-attacks actually hit like really hard because of all that boosted crit damage that she has. So it's not the end of the world if she gets berserked. She's still going to be hitting really, really hard. And then Velis, again, another unit that's weak to strike resist, and even though he heals a lot, she doesn't care about healing because she's just another one-punch girl. Like, if she hits you, and you're going against the right targets, you're gonna die, so it doesn't matter. So again, these are just the targets you want to go for and the targets you want to avoid. Okay, so we're in WoTV-Calc now, and before we go into the damage calculations, I just kind of wanted to show you what attacks she actually has, because she doesn't have very many. If we look in her main job here, she has Pummel, and that's it. Like, for her main job, that's all she has, unless you go to her sub-job main job. So in every single situation, you're going to be equipping her sub-job, because otherwise you don't want to run with only Pummel, a 1-range hit. It's a 133 mod 2 hit, so it's kind of whatever. But basically, you want to run her sub-job, because the two abilities that she's going to use more often than not are going to be one of these three. Surge Strike. So this is only a 3 range and then range height 1 ability. So it's very hard to reach people. And this is honestly just the biggest problem with Meriluke, because her buffs are actually incredible and her damage can actually get pretty insane. The problem is just actually hitting people. Like, being in range to hit somebody is really, really difficult for her. So yeah, basically these two abilities are the ones you want to use though. This one here, 3 range, range height 1, and the other one is the Terror Slash one, which we talked about earlier. So it's 4 range, range height 1, and this is piercing. So this will hit everybody within this group. If people funnel up for this, and you will see in the video, this actually does pretty insane damage. These modifiers don't seem like a lot, but again, her attack stat gets so ridiculously high, and her crit damage modifiers, along with her lightning attack modifiers, get so high, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to show you in the damage calculations here. So I've set up an example team, and I've got Meriluke, Charlotte, and Ibarra. And I think this is a fair team to set up. I could put like Skahal here or something like that if I wanted to get down to 240 cost. But I've got my tank, I've got a magic DPS, and Meriluke will be my physical DPS. So I want to show you here how I built Meriluke. So for the weapon, I've got the +6 cat claws. I understand that a lot of people might not have this, but I wanted to show you the most optimized build for Meriluke. Again, it has 6 agility, 164 attack, 15 strike. The critical vision's nice too. For the armor, I don't know that this is even best in slot, but the survival vest is just a really good piece of gear, so I could put that there. I could have chosen something that gave a little more damage, but I chose not to. And then for the TMR and Truststones set, this is what I chose. I did Titus's shoes, because it gives 10 crit rate, 5 agility, 7 defense is not bad at either. On the defensive side, I went the HP set, and this is an Astria Celeste Velis hunting set. Magic and slash resist, water and ice resist, HP and luck, and I've got the HP and elemental resist. On the offensive side, I wanted to show you how crazy it can get with the critical set. She gets bonus critical rate for each stone. I've got the acquired AP and attack, critical and critical damage, and then lightning attack and defense pen for these sets. This gives critical rate an extra 15 and critical damage 10%. So let's go ahead and save this. And then for the Esper, I've got Scorpion Sentinel. You could very easily use Coral also, but again, we're very targeted in who we're fighting. So this water killer is just as good as like a strike attack because we're going against water comps. So I go here, get some slash resistance, which is nice against that comp, an extra 25 lightning attack, an extra 25 water killer also, so that's 50 modifier, along with an extra 16 critical damage modifier. So 66 modifier we're getting from this Esper, which is absolutely nuts. We've got Scorpion Sentinel as the main VC so that you can get AoE resistance, critical damage, and then water resistance, slash attack won't matter. And then we've got the Coral on for the sub VC because it gives agility to her, lightning attack, dex, and acquired AP. These other VCs are just really basically general VCs that I would run in almost every single comp for lightning. So nothing really changed up here. So let's look at her stats. Right off the bat, going to jump out 8,400 HP is not bad at all, especially for an MR attacker. 8,400 is pretty solid. 1259 attack. This seems low, but again, this is before measured power goes off. Measured power increases by 538. So this is basically 1800 attack after we use that buff. So that attack stat is going to be crazy high. 36 starting AP is not bad because she's going to buff like twice. So she should be able to get a few abilities off. And agility is 89. If I didn't like this agility stat, I could run the agility set on her TMR, and this agility would be closer to like 94, 95, which is very, very respectable. Looking at the resistances, she's got 28 slash resist, so we made up for that really crappy slash resist start at -5. We got it all the way up to 28. We've got 75 lightning attack, 15 strike attack, and here's where it gets juicy. 89 critical rate and 86 critical damage. So 86 crit damage modifier on every crit. We've got 30 single target resist and 30 AoE resist. So actually decently bulky Meriluke. Like, she's not going to take a ton of hits, but she might take 2, and she will almost certainly take 1 in most cases. Now, we're going to go to the damage calculator, and we're going to target Astrius here just to see what kind of damage she does. We can also target Celis. Some of the numbers will be close and similar and stuff like that. So this is her basic attack. If we were to calculate this damage against somebody with no defense and spirit, it's critting for 5,100. And here's where you can see where all that crit damage comes in. The crit damage essentially doubles the amount of damage she does. That's how much modifier it is. Like, her normal damage is 2,500. Crit is 5,100 here. That's absolutely crazy. Now let's give Astrius some stats. So let's give him like 30 defense. Let's be kind of generous here. Don't worry about spirit. That doesn't matter. We're going to give him his regular 10 strike, negative 10 strike resist. And even though I don't think he pretty much ever runs unit resist, let's just give him 10. Just to see what that looks like. Now, without buffing, Meriluke's basic attack, so this is not an ability, does 3,693. But again, we are not done yet. We have so much more to add. First, let's go ahead and do her Focus Fist buff. This is pretty much always going to be equipped on her. She's pretty much always going to use this because this is the first buff she does. So this boosts strike attack, so it does affect her basic attack. Defense pen of 50. She's now critting Astrius in this fairly generous build, I would say, for 52-56. That's a lot of damage for a basic attack. Now, let's go ahead and up this. Let's assume she used Titus's TMR. Critical hit damage 30. Well, now she's critting for 58-62. And let's see this final number here, 150% attack buff, 83-64. Guys, I'm telling you this right now because I have never successfully done it, but in some alternate universe, you go against a poorly built Astrius who doesn't have any unit resist and only has like 10 defense. In some alternate universe, Meriluke is killing Astrius with her basic attack. If somehow you could pull this off in a PvP fight and film it, please send it to me because I know this exists in some alternate reality and I want to see it happen. If she gets all 3 of her buffs off and is able to actually just walk forward and auto Astrius, a poorly built Astrius would die. That just is hilarious to me. But let's look at her more realistic damage. Let's go to like Surge Strike instead. So let's take some of these modifiers back off just to show you how crazy her damage can actually get. And more likely than not, this is what you're going to run into, right? Like Astrius, probably more likely going to have like 25 defense. And let's be generous and give him the 20 lightning resist. So again, this is a pretty generous Astrius. I think this is probably about normal. She hasn't used her insane attack buff here, and she's critting for 9160. This is with the Titus TMR. So let's take away the Titus TMR and instead have her use her other buff. So assume she gets her normal 2 buffs off. Well, she's critting for 12,000. She's damage capping on Astrius, essentially. So you guys can see here, this is with Surge Strike. Surge Strike's like 130 modifier. Is not much. If we go to Terra Slash, it's even more. And by the way, I don't have any mastery ranks here on my lightning. So if I bump this up to like 30, like 14,000 damage on Terra Slash, and Surge Strike is 12.6k. So let's check out the arena showcase and let's see her actually doing a ton of damage to these units. Okay guys, so we have some plenty of fights here in the arena. I wanted to show you guys, these were done, I believe, on Friday, but I'm at about top 2,000-ish arena here, so at a decent level. And I've set this team up with level 97 Resnick, 120 Charlotte, and 120 Meriluke. And the reason I have this team is obviously not because I'm trying to win. I've got the Resnick here because I basically just want the damage to be Meriluke almost solely. If Charlotte does damage, cool, but basically I just don't want Resnick doing any damage. When I had Ibarra in here, it was really hard to show what Meriluke was doing and basically show that she can actually carry some of these fights. So I have this set up in this way for a very specific reason. As you can see here, as I hit play, we've got a 120 Celis, a 115 Little Leela the Bold, and a 115 Astrius, and we're going to show you what kind of damage that Meriluke can do. All right, so we've got the battle starting, and essentially what's supposed to happen here, ideally, is that Charlotte does her hate stuff, runs forward, and Meriluke, in order, will use Focus Fists, then the Titus TMR, and then finally we'll use Measured Power. You're going to see in this fight she doesn't do that perfectly. She does Focus Fist turn 1. They're going to use their buffs on the other side. Celis gets hate up. Charlotte does what she's supposed to. Okay, and I cut this part out of the video because my wife texted me during it. I didn't want to show her name on the screen. But basically, Meriluke used Focus Fists a second time on Resnick, which is not what we want. So this is not working out perfectly, and it's part of what I was talking about, her AI just kind of being wonky and getting to do what we want. Now, here's the Titus TMR. That's what we wanted on turn 2. We're getting it on turn 3. So we've taken a ton of damage here, so it's looking pretty grim for us. Charlotte is almost dead. She walks up, auto attacks. Walks up 10,688 on the Astrius, so she did not get her massive attack stat up yet. Got a jamming thrust from Celeste. She tanks it like a beast. 8,900 crit onto this Celis. Little Leela Spirit Breakers her, which is kind of weird. And then she kills Little Leela. So, not the best team that we could have ever faced. There were 2 level 115s, now 120s in there. But I hope this shows, like, yeah, Meriluke's damage can be pretty nuts. Let's go to the next video. Okay, so we've got a 115 Astrius, 120 Celis, 120 Titus. I do want to be honest with you guys about this map effect. It is water attack resistance up. So we are actually taking less damage from the water team than we normally would. However, the damage to the water team that Meriluke is doing is not modified at all by the map. So this is more of just like a damage showcase showing you she can absolutely just destroy some of these people. All right, so again, we got the battle start. In an ideal world, we go Focus Fist first, then the Titus TMR, and then Measured Power. That is her absolute damage spike. We'll see if she's able to do it, and we'll see if she even needs to do it. Looks like Titus is going to channel the Hastaga. Resnick's AI was really weird on this fight. I messed with a couple of things, and she just walked forward and basically got her damage absorbed by Celis, but that's fine because we want Meriluke to pop off here. We're showcasing Meriluke. We don't care about what Resnick does. We just want Resnick to keep Charlotte alive so that Meriluke can actually hit somebody. So Charlotte's tanking that well, especially with the water resistance up. Resnick's damage gets blocked. Decent damage from the limit break from Charlotte though. 10,000 from Surge Strike onto the Celis. And Meriluke should get a chance to hit some people in just a second here. Resnick goes down. $6,900 onto the Titus, so not even one of the targets we were necessarily looking for originally, but almost 7K on Titus is pretty good. And 9,600 to the Astrius. So again, like literally every hit we're doing, just about one-shotting these guys. So, all right, so here we've got a full 120 team with Astrius, Celis, and a Prompto. So we're gonna see how this works out. And we're going to be doing a total of 4 fights today, so this is fight number 3. This is one more primarily water comp, and then the last comp we're going to do is actually a fire team, just to show you that she can actually do damage against units that are not water also. If you guys are watching to this point, you guys are awesome. This would be a wonderful time to hit that like button and subscribe button. It supports me, just helps my channel grow. It helps more people see these videos, so I really appreciate it. So he hits the Gravisphere, I believe it's called, pulls everybody in, kind of like the Black Rose Helena card. Terra Slash, so she only gets 1 buff off here, so you'll see what kind of damage she does with only getting her very first buff. We'll see if the damage is still good. Spoiler alert, it is. It's still really good. And she walks up. Terra Slash, she hits, I think, 2 numbers were over 8,000 and one was 7,700. So pretty much just destroys all 3 of them. Astrius lives because he is a jerk with courage. Didn't want to give me just the free triple kill, but hey, we take what we can get. As you can see, that damage is still pretty crazy, even with just 1 buff. And here for the last fight against the fire team. Okay, so I was partially wrong. It's not a full fire team. It is a 120 Kingmont, 120 Glaciella, and 120 Yuna. But again, we're running a level 97 Resnick and a Meriluke, so give me some credit, okay? All right, so same as usual, we'll get Charlotte to get her buffs online. Resnick's gonna walk up, buff defense and spirit, get the healing power up. We don't give a shit what she's doing though. She's just basically here to be a body and give more vision cards to the party. And occasionally limit break to keep Charlotte alive. Goes Claws of the Young King. So we got the measured power up. This was actually a mistake by her AI, and I'm not entirely sure why she did this. This goes against everything that I've learned about her, because she can't hit right now. So I'm not sure why she did. It's weird. It's like she used measured power thinking she was going to walk forward and hit Glassy, but then she walked towards Mont because of the hate. So yeah, she uses that buff and then uses Focus Fist, but because of Emerald Echo, she still has the measured power buff. Normally she would not, but that does make it last 1 turn longer, so she still has that damage increase here. So this is looking pretty grim for us, right? But if you've seen before, the Terra Slash stack up, she one-shots Glaciella, almost one-shots Kingmont. So Charlotte just destroys Yuna, actually. Yuna's not very tanky. She gets the measured power up, and this will be proof showing you that this damage lasts for 2 turns. Notice she hit for 9339 crit there on Kingmont. So remember that, 9339. Uses Fangs of Leonis. She does the same move, 9337, so 2 damage difference. So proof right there that that Emerald Echo buff works really well. The store damage lasts for 2 turns, not just 1. If you guys enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you hitting that thumbs up and the subscribe button. My next character guide is going to be Charlotte. I asked you guys to leave your opinions in the comments on Charlotte, Ibarra, or Cloud. I got the most votes for Charlotte, so she's going to be my very next one. I will definitely be doing guides on the others as well because they were my main PvP team for a very long time. And I want to do some guides on some more commonly used units, not just these niche ones like this. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.